Welcome to Stock Therapy with Penny Queen. Today I have CISO Global CEO Dave Jemmett here. Dave, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, especially on a Saturday, Penny.
Oh, no worries. I'm just really happy to get the messaging out and to make sure that all of your shareholders understand exactly what's going on with the company. So with that, I just want to start with what happened with our SaaS revenue.
That's a great question. I think in their last conversation, um, I said that it was a slow rollout. They have done the adoption, but it did not roll out as fast as we expected. With the folks that run that channel, as well as the CEO of that organization, I actually put a call into him and said, "How are we doing? I want to make sure because of the excitement that took place. Why are we not there?" And it was the adoption rate, the issue of teaching, 9,000 brokers about the product, the rollout itself, how they were more concerned about some of the brokers, how technical it was for their customers. There was a lot of different questions that we're going to correct and have been correcting. It's still there, the resources there, the contracts in place. It's just going to take a little bit longer than expected. And I was concerned enough to make that call to the CEO and go, "Do you feel comfortable about these numbers?" Yes, but it's going to take a little bit longer. And so
Yes.
I have to respect them. They're our channel partner, and between my executive team as well as their team, came up with those numbers. So I believe we'll get there. It's just going to be a little more matter of time.
Okay, so are software sales continuing to ramp?
Yes.
Okay. So can I ask why you doubled the forward-looking statement to 10 million by the end of this year then?
That's a great question. So as a CEO, it ultimately rolls up to my responsibility. So there is no excuse. But it was so exciting as the rollout took place. I was advised by our sales team as well as the other channel partner that they believe they could reach out and create that much more. And hence, I actually made a forward-looking statement. We'll get there, but it's going to just take a little more time than anticipated, like anything in life, unfortunately.
Okay, so what are you doing to fix it?
We actually are bringing in president of sales and marketing to run that process, a new one that's familiar with the channel program, and having him specifically designated to creating a bigger channel as well as working with the existing, because I can't say who it is, but I've known this individual and they've worked for some large organizations in the data side as well as cyber. So I'm excited to have him come on board. And I think him coming on board will actually put the process and procedures in and be able to communicate that throughout those organizations on how to not only develop it, but distribute it.
So then I guess on yes, no, are we screwed?
No.
Okay,
We're, we're,
that's
we're still, thanks for asking me. My heart just fell out. But no, we had a good quarter. We missed, our SaaS revenue, but we still had a great quarter. I was just in New York for 3 days, and the institutions of banking were the release Thursday night. I had a dinner Thursday night with new guys on the street with a lot of family funds, and they had already studied it and said, "Wow, you were better than last year. You're streamlining." And that brings us to, congratulations on the B. Riley note.
so before we dig into the B. Riley note, because I think that's really interesting, I do want to say that, for shareholders, when we didn't see that SaaS revenue, that was a big shock. If I take the SaaS revenue out of the filing,
Mm-hmm.
Q3 is a massive improvement over last year. Like when I went through and looked at year over year and how things
Mm-hmm.
have changed, you've definitely reshaped the company, taken away that debt. Things are really shaping up in that way. But it's like we were promised a pony. So
Yeah.
like, thanks for all the other presents. But that was kind of, so it got missed in just the whole of everything that happened. So along those lines, I would like to ask you that every time you drop a quarterly fins, that you also put out a news release with it, because there's a lot of color that gets missed because we're looking for one particular thing, and it would be really, really good to have commentary on everything else that's immediately available.
I will commit to that. Obviously, I saw this quarter how important it was. I was going to and have one prepared, but our counsel said wait until next week to drop it. I think that was a mistake. And from going forward, the attorneys work for us, and we need to communicate with our shareholders. Our shareholders are mainly retail, and they need to be informed. And I was concerned as well about not communicating the good things about it, and also discussing the missed SaaS revenue before people had a chance to take a look at it. But no, I commit 100% to doing it every time we drop a quarter or an 8K.
Okay, and so 8K for everyone, that's when you're doing another action, right?
Yes.
When you're setting something up with like a B. Riley or asking to authorize shares. That I would truly appreciate that, because stocks do not trade well in a void. And especially when we see big numbers, they're big and scary numbers without commentary. So I definitely appreciate that. Let's talk about, let's skip down to the authorization request for another 1 billion shares. That's massive, and we talked about not diluting. Can you give us more color on what it is that you're planning to do and why it's so large?
You're hitting all the big ones today. Yes, we have been approached by several different organizations, and we as a board have agreed that a transformational event or transaction would enhance the shareholder value. Not a dilution, not a reverse. Those are things we as shareholders, it hurts us, and I'm a shareholder. Jim Crank, Hensley Beverage, they're shareholders, and quite frankly, it would dilute them and hurt them as well. So not only protecting my friends, but the shareholders internally. That billion extra was due to the street coming to us saying, look, we have some things out there, and you can name them. I mean, you can name what kind of transactions are going on. And we've been approached and said, hey, we would like you. We think you're clean. We think you're a great company. You could enhance value. But we need to be prepared for that instead of waiting 90 days and going back to the well and asking to have another proxy and taking 90 days. If that doesn't work, take another 90 days. So we allocated those shares to make sure when that transformational happens, we find the right party, if we do, and the right situation to enhance our shareholder value as well as enhance the company's value, then we'll have that ability. But those shares are in reserve and are no way, there are no way that it is intent on diluting the company unless there's something transactional that will enhance the shareholder value. That's it.
So when you talk about a transformational transaction, can we talk about what kinds are happening in the industry right now?
In the industry itself, that's a great way to put it. In the industry, there's a lot of, since our product is driven by AI, there's a lot of AI organizations out there that are interesting, that could enhance our product. A lot of people are looking at DATs, digital asset treasuries, that essentially take crypto. And obviously, just yesterday was announced that the Fed's going to start using stablecoin and gold. That was shocking. I didn't expect that, but people are seeing those. But typically, those are companies that are stage 2 medical companies, or they don't add value. A mining company, the stock pops and then it goes back down. If anything like that would ever come to ours, is it the right partnership? How do we enhance it? How's the cyber actually create, the narrative? We're looking to enhance not only ourselves, but anyone that we would go with as a transformational transaction. And then quantum. it's amazing because people have seen our product. It's been tried and tested. We haven't marketed as much as everyone else, but people in our industry see it and they're saying, what if we put quantum with your software? How much more efficient and faster would it be? Well, those are the things that are, out there that other companies are looking at, but we've been approached and we won't do anything until we find the right organization, if we do, because we have a great company going today.
Okay, so I'm going to summarize that and let me know if I'm getting any of this wrong.
Okay.
You ask for the authorization so that the company would be ready when and if you find the right transaction.
If that's correct.
You're not looking to just find some random crypto coin and put it in the treasury just to do it.
Absolutely
right?
not. Yeah.
You're looking for synergies, places where your existing expertise can actually make whatever, if you bring something in, better.
Correct.
Right.
And there's other cyber companies that are private that have great offerings, both in government and private. So that's another way to enlarge our business.
So when we talked about this before, and you floated the idea, did you end up having more suitors at your door?
I will tell you that it's been very inquisitive on our company, and we do not waste time with a lot of them because it just doesn't make any sense. There's no innate value or enhanced synergies between the organizations. We're not just a transaction. We're clean. We've cleaned the company up. Balance sheet looks great. I mean, we can keep going ourselves. In fact, ongoing concern that should have been wiped out with B. Riley, but it wasn't, because guess what? SEC has rules and regulations. We wanted to release it in 10Q, but it was an after event, so at the end of the year, they said usually those are released on 10Ks. And so that's how that's going to get wiped out.
I feel like you're reading my list of questions. So,
okay.
All right, which I have to say, I received 238 questions from shareholders, but they really boil down to these three main ones that we're talking about. So, and I guess to summarize what you're saying about dilution too, is that you're not looking to dilute your own holding.
No.
Right. I mean, that's something I do want people to hear and remember, that you have a large stake in this company, and every time the company is diluted, your position gets diluted as well. So, it's just, I got to tell you, 1 billion is a really scary number. Like, somehow if it would have been 999,999,000, I think there might have been a different reaction. But I do like you being positioned to make whatever transformational transaction happen with essentially check in hand. I like that a lot better, and I think it gives the company much better leverage in negotiating. Let's talk about the other 10 million shares that were added. I'm pretty sure I know where they came from and why, but can you clear that up?
I can, but I'd like your opinion. I'm just kidding.
I will give you my opinion. It was people converting from preferred to common, and likely so that they could vote.
You're correct. So a little nuance that we didn't know that our attorneys missed, which, surprise, surprise, attorney missing something. That preferred, when we did it in Delaware, we didn't add that they had voting rights. And so coming up on the shareholder, they were ready to vote because we have an end of year meeting and to do all these actions. And they said, okay, we're going to put our votes towards you. And they found out they had no rights, and they go, we want rights to vote. And so they immediately said, how do we get that? And we said, the only way to do that is convert to common, in which they said, done. And that's how it worked.
All right. So
And they're
now,
not selling; they're holding. They're long-term holders, just like myself.
yeah, selling at this kind of price point wouldn't make any sense for them anyways.
No.
So, what, let's talk about the B. Riley deal.
Okay.
Because I'll say before we even start that I like the way the B. Riley deal was structured. I know a lot of your shareholders don't. So I would like you to explain to them what's good about it.
Yes. It was interesting. I've had conversations, a few with some shareholders that called me out of the blue, you know, talking about that. And then I had to walk them through. So thank you for giving me this venue to actually explain it. But the institutions who really delved into it said, how did you get that good of a deal? Um, so to put it in layman's terms, because it's 15 pages on the statement, um, B. Riley has been watching us in our bank, right? They hold our shelf. They've been watching our organization, part of it. I love B. Riley. It's got a tour of the head desk, give some credit to. They have tried to protect our stock and given us information. So is Stiefel, so is Roth. B. Riley essentially said, you know what? We're going to fund you. And the first thing I said is, I don't need any raised funds. They go, no, we'll be your institutional investor and we'll be a filer. How much do you need? Well, that's a whole discussion. They said 15, but the most important is not a convertible note per se. So convertible note, they can keep pushing it down, and that's a death spiral. What we did was we came up with the first one is 105% of the trading when we sign the transaction. That should be easy. You see it. We only pull down what we need. We don't need the 15 million bucks. So we only put it down. 2.3 is the first one we're pulling down. They'll have to file, and it's at 3% interest.
That's a
So,
great rate.
and no
And no
warrants.
warrants.
No.
That's okay. So, and then that.
It was a gift, quite frankly. And they want us to succeed.
So now so then you've got that 2.3 million, which you can push into, you can put a lot of that into marketing.
Yes.
To get those software sales up.
That's correct.
So, all right. Well, I'm trying to make sure that I didn't miss anybody's questions here. Are you currently out of blackout?
Yes.
Thank God. I mean, I recognize we probably wouldn't be having this conversation if you weren't.
Yeah, filing the queue was the big one, especially B. Riley. So we couldn't even put the announcement out about the transaction, which we will be doing because we were in the blackout period to the queue. So we're actually putting out a very layman's terms press release next week.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, thank you for. I would love anything written in as close to plain English as possible, because I've read through some of those, like the original B. Riley filing. I know this isn't your doing, but that was a nightmare because it came out and it made it look like you were diluting by.
Oh yeah.
It shows 39 million shares, which, it doesn't say is what the absolute bottom could be with full usage at that price. And then they publish it again.
It's because the amendment, and it's because their attorneys, I won't say anything further on that. They basically had to go back and re-amend. So it looked like it double dipped, and it wasn't. And in the rules of engagement, the SEC, we had to actually say at the bottom price, this is what it'd be, but we get to choose when we sell it to them. Do you think we're going to sell a little low price tonight right now? No. So, we're waiting for them, and they want us to appreciate. That's why it's really incredible. And Thursday night with those family ones, they all said, how did you keep it from having a cap? Because most convertible notes say, okay, if we're buying for $1.05, most cap is $1.50. I don't care if it goes to 3. I keep getting it. They actually are at 95% of VWAP of 3 days prior. So if it goes to 10, they get it for 95% less, or 95% less than what it's trading for. So that's why they want to have us succeed. And
Okay.
they'll actually benefit as being a filer and a shareholder.
Perfect. You still have a monthly plan in place with New to the Street?
Yes. In fact, I was in New York doing a interview with them on NASDAQ's floor, and that should be coming out pretty quickly.
Very nice. All right. So tell me what the next 3 to 6 months looks like for us.
Obviously, I mentioned we're bringing in a very solid president of sales and marketing to implement a very aggressive sales and marketing program. We have a great sales process now, but we need to hyper scale that. And to do that, you have to find the right person, which we think we've found. Next is the SaaS going in, which he will do is putting programs in to enhance that value as well. And really putting our nose to the grindstone and keep running this company more efficiently and gaining more in our margins to show the street that we're actually being consistent and using that capital wisely that B. Riley's provided.
Okay. Can we talk for a second about the quarter? I don't have it in front of me right now, but I know I think revenue slipped about 14%, but that has to do with getting rid of the South American business. Is that right? Or
yeah, that was literally 2/3 of our debt and almost 60% of our burn. That was the thing that we went to the board. Not saying anything that's out of school. They started, instead of selling cybersecurity products and software, they started trying to make their numbers up by selling boxes or hardware, which is very low margin. And so we came to the conclusion that we would separate them and focus on the core organization and keep with the cybersecurity strategy and software and let them have their organization and debt and burn back, which we accomplished.
But gross margins really went up.
Yes.
Like looking at the different, I think, was it 75% higher? I really don't want to be okay.
Yeah, it was.
I know I went through all the numbers and I tried to write down what had transpired. That was a really big change. And having your books so much cleaner.
It's pretty clean cap table.
Yeah.
No debt now. So we have a line of credit with our bank that is essentially a revolving line for our receivables. But essentially, we're really clean, and we also now have the capital we can draw from moving forward.
All right, perfect. I think you've answered everybody's overarching questions, and I'm sure I'll continue to get some that I'll just forward on, or people I'm sure are reaching out to you directly. But thank you for coming, and thank you for talking to us about this.
I appreciate Penny, and ultimately, this company, it's my responsibility. I'm the one that has to take full responsibility. And so with that, transparency is important to the shareholders. And I assure you, based on your request, we already had that in place, but we will communicate more to the street so that there's no surprises and they understand our strategy going forward.
Thank you.